Yo, what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm illin'.
You are illin'. Mrs. Weedman's got a little...
I'm going down for the count.
You vipers out there. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you listen to the show. And Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal. And we are smoking the Devil's Green Gold. And it's actually lemon pepper grown by our friend Big Earl. And we love this. We love this lemon pepper. We smoked it on the show a few shows ago. And Big Earl, kudos to you, brother. This is a perfect sativa blend. Heady, but yes, kind. It doesn't like get me all wild and crazy. It's just a great, just 70-30 sativa indica strain that's just so great for overall work, play, fun, talkative. We've been smoking this strain a lot. And everybody we've given it to asked, where'd you get this from? Where'd you get this from? Ms. Weedman?
Are you sharing a joint with me, Mr.
Yes,
Weedman?
I'm probably have it too. We were kissing on Christmas, and we were, there
was just a lot of germs this Christmas.
Yes,
with our family, a lot of colds and things going around, and now we're all kind of slowly dropping.
Yeah, the whole family's dropping like a fucking bad Santa fucking party right now. I tell you what, a bad gift. Here's talking about gifts. We were watching the news the other night, and it was Christmas Eve, like during the day. We were watching the news while we're getting ready, cooking and stuff like that. And they said that $10 billion worth of gifts get returned this year.
They called it $10 billion of unwanted gifts.
Unwanted gifts.
10 billion.
Yes.
Not million.
Billion. But with a B.
So you do understand, like, most people are just buying stuff because we have to buy stuff. And we're wasting our time because then people are just taking it back. Can we just get away from gift giving?
10
without being Scroogey?
Billion. I'm Scroogey. But now you know why.
No, we've always been on the same page about the principle behind why you are that way. And I've always believed that it's just Christmas became kind of I hate to call it a shit show, but as far as gift giving goes, it has. It's just become, it's all about the gifts and like not about the point moment of just being together. And that's why I love Thanksgiving so much, because it's just get together and be around the people you like and enjoy and be thankful.
Right.
That's best.
Yes. But this Christmas was fun.
We did. We had a great
Christmas Eve.
We did.
And I only brought that up because I thought it was funny to see the $10 billion. But we had a great Christmas Eve. But then
they also brought up another point that like 1% of Americans do their shopping in like the last hours of Christmas Eve.
No, it wasn't 1%.
But it was like the 1% was like 16 million people are shopping on Christmas Eve.
I thought it was like 134 million people. I thought it said.
Oh, I don't know.
We don't
Christmas
know. Eve. I think
but it was a lot more than we expected.
I think it was 100 million people shop on Christmas Eve. Last minute shoppers getting the last minute gift, I think it said 100 million. And I was talking to my buddy Wild Mike, and he's like, "I'm like, where you at?" He goes, "I'm at the mall shopping." What was it? Christmas Eve. I was like, "You're part of that 100 million club." How's it going out there right now? But Christmas Eve was great, and I'll tell you why. Food was good. The weed was amazing. Thank you, Midwest Terps, for Dung Drop number 13.
We had some good cousin walks.
Yeah, good cousin walks.
We just walked down the hallway to the garage.
On this one. But we did a $25 grab bag, right? Which was a lot of fun. You couldn't spend more than $25. You had to buy it from you couldn't buy it from a major corporation. You had to buy it from like a local small business,
or make it yourself. Or go to an estate sale.
Yeah, so that was fun. Everybody got some really fun, really thoughtful gifts. It was really cool to see some of the people's faces going, "Oh man, I didn't even know! Wow, holy smoke!" kind of stuff. And then we did. Of course, Mr. and Mrs. Weedman did our white elephant again this year. And how many people did participate in this one?
We had 24 bags, and I think we had about 20 people.
Yeah, 20 people in the white elephant. And it was great because everybody was excited and asking about when we were going to do the white elephant. And everybody had a lot of fun because it's all the swag we collect and nugs and whatever. It was just a little bit of everything.
Just all the giveaways that we get through the year.
We save them. And so we did. We had enough to make 24 bags, and the 4 bags left over, just everybody split and put in their bags. It was great. It was great to see the people's faces when they were opening up and saw swag from this place or got a pre-roll from this place or whatever. It's great. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun, and it brings a lot of joy to a lot of the burner stoners and potheads that are in our family. And then Mrs. Weedman came strong this year, really strong. She bought a karaoke machine.
I did.
And it was the highlight of the night. We have videos of our kids and nieces and nephews all singing. And I tell you what, because our nieces and nephews are now all between the ages of 18 to 20, our oldest.
No, 21 is the youngest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 21.
I went to Nashville for her 21st birthday.
That's true.
She's the baby.
Our great nephew is 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12.
So, but yeah, 21, and our oldest is 40,
yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. So, the whole family was in the living room and everybody was laughing. Our daughter, O-Dog, who's been on the show, we've mentioned her a bunch of times, did a little roasted Mr. and Mrs. Weedman, pretty good, and Polly and a few other people. And then she sung 3 songs and they were entertaining as fuck. And I think this went out. And so we sung, Polly sung, our nieces and nephews sung,
and couples were doing duets.
Yeah, duets.
Nephew, like girlfriend or boyfriends of our nieces got up, more like who you wouldn't even expect to get up and sing. They were, I mean, it was really fun.
It's a great little karaoke machine. It's got a nice screen and you can hook it up to your internet and 2 microphones, and the sound was pretty good, and the lights up on the sides a little bit. It's a very fun machine. We got it at Costco and it was great. And it was much enjoyable to puppy. A lot of the nieces and nephews said, you have to bring that to more parties moving forward. I'm like, yeah, that's fine as long as we don't get obnoxious. We don't.
Yeah.
Mrs. Weedman's mom has hearing aids, and she actually turned them down a little bit.
But she said, I asked her later, I was like, was it just killing your ears? And she's like, no, it just was loud. So she didn't need the hearing aids. But she was enjoying all the fun and laughter. And it was cute.
It was such a good time. And then Christmas Day, of course, is always a big deal in our house. Breakfast, brunch we do, kids come over, presents. We were actually drinking, smoking weed and drinking, we got this Bailey's eggnog, right?
No, it was Christian Brothers brandy eggnog.
And we were drinking that early in the morning with coffee.
Oh, that was a nice start. And mimosas. And then we made our whole breakfast soiree of stuff. Mrs. Weedman makes some great Swedish pancakes, and it was just great. Relaxing present opening, and dogs were having fun, and future in-laws came over, and it was just a very nice Christmas day. And then we went to our mother-in-law's house for a great dinner, and it was very nice. And so hopefully everybody out there, your Christmas was truly humbling and truly fun. A lot of good new memories for you that you make out there. So hopefully you enjoyed your Christmas and your Christmas Day, or whatever holiday you celebrate. Well, Hanukkah is going on parallel to this, right?
And then you'll have...
And Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa will be coming up. And then whatever other Christmas...
I think it started.
...kind of holidays that are out there you celebrate in this time of the year. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you have loved ones to share with and have some fun, because it's right around the corner, right? New Year's.
Baby New Year.
Baby New Year will be coming right up. And this is probably out again.
Come on. You talk too much, Mr. Weedman.
Give me a second.
Smoke
because
that shit.
this is the next... All right, from...
Am I lighting it? So I'm going to be extra baked.
Give me a second. So from the 26th of December till, let's just say... Mrs. Weedman brought this up in the car yesterday.
Oh, yeah,
Until the first...
Until you go back to work.
Till January 3rd. 'Cause most people don't go back to work till the 6th. Is because you got this year. Everything's in the middle of the week, so a lot of people take off.
Yes.
Until the 6th, which is that Monday after New Year's and all that stuff. So because you have I think the 2nd is Thursday, Friday's the 3rd, or some shit like that. Yeah. So then you go into the weekend. So most people are off or taking off, and it's a slow time of the year. So most people aren't doing much with business. So there's this saying Mrs. Weedman said in the car. She said, I don't know what day it is right now. I don't know what time it is right now. And I don't know where the fuck I'm going right now. So I wrote this down. So I was thinking about the week between Xmas and New Year's. Here's number 1. Watch a full TV series in this whole week. You have the time, right? Or watch whatever the fuck you want. Watch a bunch of movies, or watch the whole Star Wars trilogy, or, whatever. 2, wear whatever you want for a week, because nobody cares.
No.
Wear spandex every day.
Yeah.
Go to the gym and wear different colors that you would never wear before. Go to if you have to work and there's probably nobody wear slippers, or bring slippers to work and put them under your desk. Wear whatever you want this week. So eat whatever you want. If you want to have dinner for breakfast and breakfast for dinner and lunch for a midnight snack, eat whatever you want. Have steak in the morning or chicken in the morning.
Gross.
Have pancakes for dinner.
Yeah.
Ms. Weedman would love that. So like backwards shit up. Because here's the reason why. Right now, because we just had the longest, the shortest day of the year, which was the winter solstice, which we talked about. I mean, it was dark by 4:30 today, 4:45 today. And time right now is lost for people because you were so in the hustle and bustle of trying to get everything going into Christmas, and then you got New Year's coming up, and you're planning your New Year's. You don't know where time is right now. You're in a different spectrum of the universe and don't know which way you're going.
People have different days off because of the holidays, and
holidays are in the middle of the week, not the weekend. So this Christmas Eve and Christmas Day felt like Saturday, Sunday. And you don't know what day. You didn't know what day it was yesterday. You're like, what day is it today? I'm like, I think it's Thursday.
You would say, I think.
I said, I think it's Thursday. And you're like, what? I'm like, look at your phone. But yeah, you don't know because holidays are weird when they're in the middle of the week. It screws your whole rhythm up, And so you don't know what day it is. Your time frame is lost, and then here it is. The only seconds of time that you count down is the 10 seconds until what?
New Year's Eve.
The ball drops. Midnight.
Yeah.
You'll count those last 10 seconds. You're running to the TV to watch the ball drop. Or you're looking at your phone or your watch and you're looking, oh man, we got like 15 minutes.
Right.
That last 10 seconds of time. It's the last 10 seconds of what? The old year. And you're ringing in the new and baby New Year. Right?
Yeah.
So that's Mr. Weedman's take for the last week. Take it or leave it. But you've been saying it. It's been funny as hell.
Well, nobody knows what they're doing. Because like you're saying, most people have taken extra days off.
Yep.
You got holidays falling in the middle of the week, that you got weekends, you got kids off of school, you might be on vacation, you might be traveling.
Yep.
It's just like in this kind of you're in a blur. I don't even know what day it is. Where am I? Am I supposed to be working today?
Yep.
My phone's not ringing.
We woke
I
up.
guess I'm not working.
Well, here was the weird thing too. I think everybody should have off the day after Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Because we were hanging out till 1 a.m. And next thing I'm like, oh damn, I think I got to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
What day is it? What day is it?
Yeah.
And I think we didn't get up till 10 a.m. I went to work. I had to work still, but I didn't get up till 10 a.m. because we went to bed late.
A late start.
Yes, a little late start. And I think either you should only have to work a half a day and don't start till 1 in the afternoon, or you should have off. Because, those 2 days of prep, ready, party, have fun, takes a hell of a lot out of you.
Yeah.
So everybody should have off on the 26th of December. We had a good day today, though. Today is actually Friday. And the only reason why I know this is because I'm looking at my computer and it shows the date. Friday, the 27th, 2024. And we went out today and visited some of our South accounts. And we're going to do that. And Mrs. Weedman and I got in the car and we delivered baked goods. What did we deliver today?
We delivered, so there's a local Greasy Spoon. It's like a little Greek diner.
Yeah,
they've got
so good.
3 locations on the south side of Chicago, and they make their own donuts.
Oh.
And this place has been around forever. And I've never really thought much about it. And you always hear about their big Texas donut. So people will go there for their birthday breakfast, and then you can get a donut bigger than your head.
Yep.
And so I always knew about that, but I didn't know they were actually good until I had one in the last year, and they have some really good donuts. So we picked up donuts from there. We ordered them yesterday, picked those up. And like Mr. Weedman said, we went out to all of our partners that are dispensaries selling our 8 Decades products, and we delivered donuts to them.
Huck Finn Donuts.
Yeah.
The
Huck
butterscotch
Finn
donut.
Yeah. Oh my God, the butterscotch.
Yes, and the Chicago Classic chocolate
Yeah.
chocolate cake donut.
They're good. Good stuff.
But I'd like to thank our partners that we visited today, both Starbuds Riverside and Starbuds Burbank, and B Blue Island and B Oak Forest.
Yes.
Thank you so much for supporting a local women-owned brand, 8 Decades. And, we actually got reorders.
Yeah, we got reorders.
Because they sold.
They display our stuff nicely. Yeah. They're moving our product through.
Yeah.
So they're great partners.
Yes, and we want to thank the 4 of them. And we're going to go visit the rest of our accounts to the north next week.
Yes, we are.
Yes, and to thank them again. So we appreciate our partners out there and supporting us and supporting the show and supporting 8 Decades. We really appreciate you out there. We love you, B and Starbuds. Thank you so much. So, you got anything else?
I don't think so. I'm going to try to get through this.
No,
I feel like
we got some mo.
poop.
You got some mo. Smoke
I
a little.
I
got
can
a lot
do
of mo,
this.
like Rocky. You got a lot of
I
mo.
can do this.
A lot of mo.
I got it.
All right, Mr. Weedman, you ready to get the show
I'm
started?
ready.
Let's do this. AI to create new weed strains. The Get Shit Done strain. And this is Mrs. Weedman's new favorite cannabinoid. THCV. V. And they're planning on a 20% THCV is a new science-based cannabis strain. While most folks are familiar with THC and CBD, the cannabis plant contains hundreds of compounds that interact with our bodies in fascinating and complex ways. We're like children playing with blocks, just beginning to understand the intricate architecture possible when these compounds work in concrete. Think about it. There are over 100 known cannabinoids, more than 150 terpenes, and countless other bioactive compounds in cannabis. The potential combinations are staggering, and each could potentially produce unique effects. As our understanding of these mechanisms deepens, we're approaching an era where we can design cannabis strains for specific purposes. Didn't we talk about this a few years ago? Mm-hmm. Designing strains for your personal needs. I love it. Someone must be listening to our show. Much like a master perfumer blending scents or a pharmaceutical researcher developing targeted medications. This isn't just theoretical anymore. Earlier this year, this journalist caught wind of something that perfectly illustrates this potential, a groundbreaking new strain called Get Shit Done, GSD. What caught this journalist's attention wasn't just it was a clever name, but impressive THCV content, a lesser-known cannabinoid is typically found in trace amounts. The developers claim they created something remarkable, a strain that provides energy and focus without the traditional downside of cannabis use like fatigue, mental fog, or the dreaded munchies. Woohoo! As someone who's watched countless strains come and go, often accompanied by grandiose marketing claims, this journalist admitted he was skeptical at first. But this one's different. It's backed by actual clinical research and reputable results or reproducible results. Let's take a deeper look at what makes this strain so special and what it might mean for the future of cannabis development. A deep dive on the strain and science. When Natural announced they developed a strain containing a 15 to 20% THCV, it raised more than a few eyebrows in the cannabis community. For context, most strains contain only trace amounts of THCV, typical less than 1%. Creating a strains with these levels while maintaining an 8-week flowering time is nothing short of revolutionary. But what exactly makes THCV special? While its molecular structure closely resembles THC, THCV interacts with our endocannabinoid system in profoundly different ways. Think of THC as the key that fully opens a lock. In this case, the CB1 receptor of our brain. THCV, on the other hand, acts more like a dimmer switch. At lower doses, it can actually block these receptors, while the higher dose, it activates them differently than THC does. This unique interaction explains why THCV doesn't cause the typical stoner effects we associate with cannabis. The real game changer here is the clinical validation. Natural didn't just breed a high THCV strain and called it a day. They put it to the test. In their IRB-backed study, they found some fascinating results. Users of GSD reported 20% higher energy levels compared to controlled groups. And perhaps most interestingly, those who consume traditional THC-only products report feeling fatigued approximately 3 times more than the GSD group. As someone who's writing extensively about cannabis research, this journalist can tell you that this kind of clinical validation is unfortunately rare in the industry. Whitney Conroy from Natural shared some insights with the journalist I found particularly intriguing. THCV interacts with receptors in the brain differently. It's not impairing like THC. One study showed that THCV can improve response time in tests of impairment. This challenges the traditional narrative about cannabis use in cognitive function. What excites the journalist the most about GSD isn't just what it does. but what it represents for the future of cannabis development. As Conroy explains, we believe that the cannabis plant has endless opportunities. Breeding over the last 60 years has focused on THC potency. We believe it's time to move beyond THC and bring back the diversity of chemistry to harness the power of cannabis truly. I like this person because what I've said, give me all the cannabinoids.
Yeah.
All of them. I want them all.
But also to be able to dial in a strain that works for you.
I want to try this one. You like your THCV. I think you would dig this during the day. Keep you focused, focus.
Very mentally clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you take an edible that has high THCV content, right? This journalist couldn't agree more. Far too long, the cannabis industry has been fixated on THC percentages, treating them like alcohol content of beer. But cannabis isn't alcohol. It's infinitely more complex and nuanced. GSD represents a shift towards purposeful breeding, where strains are developed not just to get users high, but to produce specific beneficial effects. The success of GSD suggests we're entering a new era of cannabis development, where science, not marketing, leads the way. And this is just the beginning. I can't wait to see what comes next, says this journalist. The future of cannabis. We're witnessing the early stages of a major transformation that would eventually split cannabis into 3 distinct categories: recreational, medical, and industrial. While these categories technically exist today, the lines between them will become much sharper and more defined in the coming years. The medical segment is particularly fascinating. This journalist believes we'll see it evolve away from the familiar smoke your medicine approach that currently dominates the market. Let's be honest, while smoking flower might be enjoyable, it's not the most efficient or precise way to deliver medical benefits. The development of strains like GSD points towards a future where medical cannabis more closely resembles traditional pharmaceuticals or supplements with precise dosing and specific target effects. Yes.
That'd be great.
Industrial hemp. Well, here's what I like about that. We just talked to a friend, a partner of somebody in our family. Used to smoke heavily in college. Cannot smoke anymore because it induces such bad anxiety and paranoia. He basically freaks him out because this person enjoyed cannabis so much in his college years. High THC strains, smoked constantly from the time that person woke up to the time he went to sleep, and it eventually induced himself into psychosis because of so much at one time and such heavy doses at one time, right? So this is what this person was telling me. What we've learned, though, too, in the prior episodes, we've talked about this, and we've talked about. This is not the first person that's told me this. It seems to be we focus so much more on the high THC percentage, which your bodies aren't used to, right? And it does this to certain people. So I like this research and this way of thinking in this article and what these new doctors and these new scientists are thinking.
Because there has to be an overconsumption point. When we talk about the fact that cannabis doesn't kill people, but an overdose doesn't have to mean... I mean, an overdose, I think that we associate an overdose with death.
Greening out.
It's just an overconsumption.
Right.
You've had too much. There's only so much a body can take.
100%.
And if you're taking super high, 300-400 milligrams at a time, days upon end.
Or you're smoking an infused pre-roll that's 49-50%.
Yeah. I mean, I've hit certain things, pre-roll stuff with diamonds on it. Like I've hit stuff and hit it like it's a regular joint. And then after 3 puffs, you're like, ooh, that was a bad choice.
That was one too many.
Yeah.
Industrial hemp is already carving out its own niche in the American economy. And this writer expects this trend to accelerate. From sustainable building materials to biodegradable plastics, the application seems endless, but it's the recreational market where this journalist anticipates more interesting development. The emergence of strains like GSD suggests we're moving beyond the simple paradigm of getting high, which you used to talk about a lot, towards something more nuanced and purposeful. I envision a future of recreational cannabis splits into 2 main branches: classic recreational experiences, what we typically think of as getting high, and what the journalist calls functional enhancement, strains specifically designed to complement different activities and states of mind. Higher state of consciousness. Imagine walking into a dispensary and finding joints specifically designed for different experiences. One for creative work, another for social situations, maybe even one for physical exercise. It's not just about getting high anymore. It's about choosing the exact kind of experience you want. I love this article so much.
On a side note, we also know that every strain doesn't work the same way for every person. But there are strains that, generally speaking, like the description should be a majority of what you're feeling.
Yes.
And then
but also
some
now
people it's just
mirroring
different.
in the cannabinoids that give you that certain experience. Too.
But I'm just saying, like, when it comes time that those types of things are available, that it gets that dialed in and specific, don't be disappointed if you don't get those effects. Like, don't give up on it.
Well, there was
because
also
maybe it's just
there's also going to come a period where they could take a draw of blood
and then they
find
can
out
create,
what your endocannabinoid system and your CB1 receptors
that will be a
relate
magical
to.
time. Yeah.
Mud on. The success of GSD THCV dominant profile shows there's already a market for this kind of targeted effect. However, and this is a big however, all of this potential remains somewhat constrained by federal prohibition. The current legal landscape is trying to run a marathon with your shoelaces tied together. The inability to conduct unrestricted research, move products across state lines, or access traditional banking services continues to hold back innovation. Just imagine what companies like Natural could achieve if they have the same freedom to research and develop as other industries. Despite these challenges, the writer remains optimistic. The cannabis industry has shown remarkable resilience and creativity even under restrictive conditions. When not if federal legalization finally arrives, the journalist believes we'll see an explosion of innovation that will transform cannabis in ways we can barely imagine today. The cannabis industry of 2030 might be as different from today as today's legal market is from the underground scene of the 90s. One thing's certain, we're living through a fascinating period in cannabis history. The developments like GSD are just the beginning. The future of cannabis isn't just bright, it's technicolor. The sticky bottom line, after spending considerable time analyzing GSD and implications for the cannabis industry, one thing has become crystal clear to the writer. We've entered a new era of cannabis development. The introduction of scientifically backed purpose-bred strains like GSD isn't just another product launch. It's a paradigm shift in how we approach cannabis cultivation and development. When the journalist thinks back of the early days of writing about cannabis, most conversations center around THC percentages and whether indicas or sativas produced better highs. Now we're discussing clinical trials, a specific cannabinoid ratio, and targeted effects. It's like watching a garage band evolve into something orchestra. Same basic elements, but infinitely more sophisticated. As cannabis laws continue to relax, and trust me, they will, we'll see an influx of bright minds and serious innovation in the space. Combined with the exponential learning capabilities of AI and advanced genetic research tools, and the potential becomes staggering, we're talking about new medications that could revolutionize mental health treatment, recreational products that enhance rather than impair, an industrial application we haven't ever dreamed of yet. It's wild to think that less than a century ago, reefer madness propaganda was convincing people that cannabis would turn them into murderous fiends. Now we're developing strains that help people focus on get shit done or get work done. The irony isn't lost on me. We're living through what future historians will likely consider a renaissance of cannabis. The development of strains like GSD is just the beginning. As someone who's dedicated their career to understanding and writing about this remarkable plant, the journalist can tell you the best is yet to come. Stay tuned, fellow enthusiasts. The cannabis story is just getting good. Great article. That whole article was just great for me. It just made me happy knowing that over the last 5 years we've been reading about this, learning about this, talking about it. I remember sitting in Big Earl's house the first time I met Big Earl in person and sat in his living room, and I was just saying, this is like 5.5 years ago, saying, if someone can learn how to dial in these other cannabinoids and get some of these other minor cannabinoids into major cannabinoids in the plant and take a step back on just focusing on THC, someone's going to be a very rich person. And he's like, really? We had this deep conversation. I'm like, I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you, the way the market's going, what we're looking into research, if someone can start getting all these cannabinoids higher, and we had that talk with Jason too from Illinois News Joint too, and it will revolutionize the industry. It will. And I tell you what, because there's some great cannabinoids out there. I would just like to smoke that high THC strain. Give me only 1% THC and give me a 20% THCV for my daytime, so I'm not so heady. But like someone like yourself and me that can now focus on 5 screens and phone calls and this and that, that's a strain that I want, you know? So we'll see what happens. But here's something really interesting too. Mrs. Weedman is going to talk about full spectrum versus isolate cannabis. What you need to know for your work day.
Yes. So like a little preface to this, we've talked about in recent episodes the fact that when you're smoking a vape, you are really just getting THC, unless the distillate or whatever the liquid concentrate is that you're smoking has terpenes added back in. Because to get the cannabis to this liquid state, it requires kind of stripping it, making it pure, getting it down just to the THC. So you lose that kind of entourage effect that you may get from having terpenes and cannabinoids and all these flavonoids and all these other properties that are in the whole plant material. So this is very interesting because they're talking about full spectrum versus isolate cannabis. So when we're talking about an extracted cannabis coming from the plant, it is going to be a full spectrum or it's going to be an isolate. So let's talk about
real quick, just because we've talked about CBD.
Yes.
Full spectrum, broad spectrum, and isolate.
Yep.
This is cannabis.
This is THC.
This is THC
cannabis.
now, so you know.
Marijuana plant.
Yes.
So this is if you want to consume for your workday. This is pointers on using full spectrum versus isolate. Okay. When it comes to incorporating cannabis into your daily routine, understanding the difference between full spectrum and isolate cannabis products can help you make an informed decision that fits your lifestyle. Both options offer unique benefits, but how you know which one is right for you, especially how would you know which is right for you, especially when it comes to using cannabis during a busy workday. Full spectrum cannabis extracts are designed to provide a broad range of compounds found in the cannabis plant, including cannabinoids like CBD or cannabidiol, THC or tetrahydrocannabinol, or CBG, cannabigerol, and terpenes. Got it. These products aim to preserve the plant's natural chemical profile, delivering a more holistic experience. So how could full spectrum help you while working? It can help you with focus and relaxation. Many find that full spectrum products, due to the entourage effect, offer a balanced experience. The entourage effect refers to the synergistic interaction between cannabinoids and terpenes, enhancing their individual effects. For instance, the CBD in full spectrum oil can promote calmness, while trace amounts of THC may provide a gentle energy boost without causing noticeable intoxication. This balance can be especially helpful for professionals looking to remain focused but relaxed. How can it help you with stress relief? Full spectrum products can offer relief from anxiety and tension. The natural compounds work together to support mood stabilization and overall well-being, helping you navigate your workday with a clearer mind. Cannabis isolates, on the other hand, are products that contain only one specific cannabinoid, most commonly CBD or THC. These isolates are highly purified, often over 99% pure, making them ideal for those seeking very specific effects without the influence of other compounds. So how can isolates help you while you're working? They can help you with your precision. If you're looking for a straightforward, targeted experience, CBD isolate can offer you just that. With no THC involved, you can enjoy the benefits such as stress relief and improve focus without worrying about feeling groggy or impaired during the workday. No THC. If your isolate is a CBD isolate, you do not have to worry. It is perfect for those who want to avoid THC entirely, whether because of work policies, drug tests, or personal preference. If you need relief from stress or physical discomfort, but can't risk feeling any psychoactive effects, CBD isolate is a great choice. Choosing between full spectrum cannabis and isolate products depends on your specific needs during the workday. If you're looking for a more comprehensive effect and don't mind trace amounts of THC, full spectrum products may be the way to go. They offer a more natural, well-rounded experience with the potential for deeper relaxation and focus. However, if you need precise control over your cannabinoid intake or want to avoid THC altogether, isolate cannabis may be your best bet. It's particularly suited for individuals who want the targeted benefits of a single cannabinoid without the complexity of additional plant compounds. Whether you opt for full spectrum or isolate cannabis, both types of products offer unique advantages. Full spectrum cannabis may enhance focus and relaxation in a balanced way, while isolate products provide more targeted relief without THC. By understanding the differences, you can choose products that best suit your workday needs, helping you remain productive and at ease throughout the day.
I love them all.
I know. I lean to the full spectrum.
Yes.
But then I can't dose as high. Like when I was I'm having less body pain now, which is a great thing. But when I was really like in pain all the time, I just wanted to feel better. Yeah. And so I wanted the bit of THC. I wanted all of it. I needed the entourage effect because it stresses you out. It makes you feel flustered. You're just in pain. It doesn't go away. So that whole entourage effect was more beneficial to me. And I could take a high. But if I was working, sorry, I was originally explaining, I think I'm high. I was explaining, like when I was working, maybe I couldn't use the full spectrum as much. So if I still needed more CBD, I could do an isolate gummy or hit the vape pen that was an isolate.
You were taking a very high CBD to THC ratio, though.
Yeah,
you were taking
minimal.
like a 20 to 1. 30, yeah, you were taking like a 20 to 1.
Yeah,
so.
But I was using bigger doses of it.
Yeah, and it helped.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had given some HHC carts that I had received in the White Elephant thing we did on Christmas Eve. So my nieces were asking me, what's the difference between HHC and Delta 9 and the similarities between the two? And I read some notes that I had captioned in another one. So I said, oh, it might be a good... And I've talked about HHC before. And but I figured, hey, why not? Maybe someone got some for Christmas.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Cannabis has so many compounds like we've talked about. So what is HHC? HHC is short for hexahydrocannabinol. It's a hydrogenated version of THC. It's not something you'd find naturally in large amounts in the cannabis plants. Instead, it's made through a process that adds hydrogen molecules to THC. The result, a more stable compound that's less prone to breaking down when exposed to heat or UV light. How is HHC made? Think of it as like a science experiment. HHC is usually created in a lab by taking Delta 9 or Delta 8 THC and using hydrogenation, basically combining it with hydrogen under pressure and it in the presence of a catalyst. The process changes its structure while keeping its effects somewhat similar to THC. Common uses and effects of HHC. People who use HHC says it's somewhere between Delta 8 and Delta 9 in terms of effects. It's often described as relaxing, but without being overly sedative. You might feel a light buzz, reduced stress, a mild euphoria. Some even claim it helps with discomfort or improving sleep, but solid research is still catching up. Since it's less potent than Delta 9, it's often favored by those who want a manageable experience without the strong psychoactive punch. We all know what Delta 9 is, but I'll just talk about it again, just in case if you're new to the show and this might be the first episode you're listening to. Delta 9 THC is the main psychoactive compound in cannabis. It is the reason you feel high when you use weed. Chemically speaking, Delta 9 is double bonded in the 9th carbon chain, which plays a big role in how it interacts with your brain. Natural occurrence in cannabis. This one is straightforward. Delta 9 is found in high concentrations of the marijuana plants. It's what most people think of when they hear THC. Unlike HHC, there is no need for a lab process. It's already there. Hemp plants, however, contain much low levels of Delta 9 THC, which is why it's primarily extracted from marijuana. Common uses and effects of Delta 9. The effects of Delta 9 are well documented. Depending on the dose, you might feel euphoria, increased appetite, or deep relaxation. For medical users, it's also used to manage pain, chronic pain, nausea, and other conditions. It's also been studied for its potential benefits in anxiety relief, though higher doses might have the opposite effect, like we just talked about, causing paranoia. Delta 9 THC is versatile, but it's not without its risk, particularly for new users or those sensitive to its psychoactive effects. Now, there's some key differences between HHC and Delta 9 THC. Chemical structure and the composition. The main difference is their structure. Delta 9 THC has the iconic double bond, while HHC's hydrogenation makes it more stable. The difference might not mean much to the average person, but it's why HHC is less likely to degrade over time. Potency levels. Delta 9 is generally more potent. HHC might require a higher dose to get a comparable effect, but some people prefer its lighter touch. Potency differences can also depend on the method of consumption, with edibles typically providing a stronger, longer-lasting effect compared to vaping or smoking. Duration of effects. Both last a few hours, but some users report HHC effects fade more gradually. Delta-9, on the other hand, can have a sharper come-down. HHC's gradual fade makes it appealing for those who want a smooth end to their experience. So we talked about THCV, and they created a 20%. Here you go. Create a plant, coming from the plant, and not having to use that process to make it. There is minor traces of it in the plant. Breed a plant just for that. And so people get a lighter dose of not feeling so heavy-hitted by THC. Take the HHC and get a minor. And maybe so many people won't get that anxiety, paranoia feeling, and they have a nice come down, and they can intro into THC. You know, benefits and the drawbacks. HHC's pros and cons. Pros: more stable, so it lasts longer on the shelf. Effects are milder, making it less overwhelming for beginners. Can be a functional option for daytime use. Cons: limited research, so we don't know what's full impact yet. Availability can hit or miss depending on where you live. Legal gray area in many regions. Delta-9, pros and cons. Pros, because Mr. Weedman loves it. That's a pro. Sorry, just added that in. But pros: well studied with established medical uses. Widely available in areas where cannabis is legal. Stronger effects make it ideal for experienced users for those with high tolerance. The cons: higher chance of side effects like anxiety. More likely to show up on drug tests. Shorter shelf life compared to HHC. So there's some asked questions between the two. Is HHC safer than Delta-9? Not enough research exists to say definitely, but HHC's milder effects make it feel safer for some users. Will HHC or Delta-9 THC show up on a drug test? Yes, both can potentially show up on a drug test, so use with caution if that's a concern. Which one is better for recreational use? That depends on you and your preference. HHC is greater for mellow time, while Delta-9 is better if you're looking for something more intense. HHC versus Delta-9, choosing the right one for you. The choice comes down to what you are after. If you want a milder, more laid-back experience, HHC might be a good option. On the other hand, if you're looking for something stronger or in the need for medical reasons, Delta-9 is the way to go. It also depends on what's legal and available where you are, and always consider your tolerance levels when experiencing before diving in. If you're unsure, consult with someone who's knowledgeable. I think they should grow a plant that has higher quantities of HHC. Let's really try what this is all about. Yeah. I want to try. So Americans think marijuana and psychedelics are much safer now than they did a decade ago. Federal study shows. Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
As the marijuana legalization movement has expanded and psychedelics policy has increasingly entered the mainstream conversation, a new survey shows that Americans don't view cannabis and LSD as harmful as they once did. A new analysis of the National Survey of Drug Use and Health, conducted annually by the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, found broadly that perceptions of harm associated with substance use have been steadily declining for most substances since 2015. That's especially true around the time the opioid epidemic began, right? Because I think drug use, like severe drug use, is very much in the public eye with social media, and people are more educated about it. It's especially true of marijuana. The review from the consulting firm Carnival Associates LLC explains, while risk perception has declined across multiple substances over the past decade, it was down considerably for cannabis. From 2015 to 2023, the analysis shows steady declines in perceptions of harm across frequent and less frequent use for cigarettes, heroin, LSD, and cocaine. I found heroin. Isn't that bizarre that people find it less? The perception has changed. Weird. with fentanyl and people overdosing, whatever. Anyway, that's what this study found. The firm, which was founded by a former top staffer in the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, said marijuana's decline was the largest of any substance over the period, though it showed very slight variability by year. Notably, perceptions of harm for the psychedelic LSD experienced the largest decline over this period, it said. For cigarettes, heroin, LSD, and cocaine, diminishing perceptions of harm were slightly more pronounced among youth and young adults. For marijuana, risk perceptions for monthly and weekly use both decreased by 30% from 2015 to 2023. Perceptions of harm associated with substance use have been steadily softening for many years. This softening is apparent across most substances and age groups, Carnival Associates said. Since perceived risk of harm is often considered a leading indicator of substance use trends, policymakers and practitioners should continue to monitor substance use trends closely. Despite prohibitionist warnings about lower perceptions of harm potentially leading to more underage people to use marijuana, multiple national surveys have found that even as that sense of concern about health impacts has declined, rates of cannabis use have been stable or have declined among teens, including those in states that haven't enacted legalization. A study published in the journal Pediatric Reports in October revealed a significant decrease in youth marijuana use from 2011 to 2021, a period in which more than a dozen states legalized marijuana for adults, detailing lower rates of both lifetime and past month use by high school students nationwide. In Washington state, the second state in the country to launch an adult use marijuana market, data from a recent survey of adolescent and teen students found that overall declines in both lifetime and past 30-day marijuana use since legalization had striking drops in recent years that held steady through 2023. A separate 2018 survey suggested that fewer teens perceived occasional or frequent use of cannabis to be harmful, even though underage use rates had not increased. Data from CDC's 2023 Youth Risk Behavior Survey was released earlier this year. The report showed a continued decline in the proportion of high school students reporting past month marijuana use compared to the last decade. Another federal report published this summer concluded that cannabis consumption among minors, defined as people 12 to 20 years of age, fell slightly between 2022 and 2023. And a research letter published by the Journal of American Medical Association in April said there's no evidence that states' adoption of laws to legalize and regulate marijuana for adults have led to an increase in youth use of cannabis. A separate study late last year found that Canadian high school students reported it was more difficult to access marijuana since the government legalized the drug nationwide in 2019. The prevalence of current cannabis use also fell during that study period, even as retail sales of marijuana expanded across the country. An earlier analysis from the U.S. In the CDC found that rates of current and lifetime cannabis use among high school students have continued to drop amid legalization movement. A separate study published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine in 2022 found that state-level cannabis legalization was not associated with increased youth use. The study demonstrated that youth who spent more of their adolescence under legalization were no more or less likely to have used cannabis at age 15 years than adolescents who spent little or no time under legalization. That's interesting.
Very.
These trends were observed despite adult use of marijuana and certain psychedelics reaching historic highs in 2022. No pun. According to separate data released last year. If you ask me, this is all positive news, and just I particularly think that that's so. I would like to understand why, like why teens have used it less, because they're more informed, and maybe they realize like they're not that like a lot of 20-somethings aren't using alcohol as much. So now there's this next group of kids not going to use drugs. I don't know. It's interesting.
Hence, I have the next article that talks about, I tied in both of our articles.
Oh, look at that, Mr. Weedman.
So teen marijuana use continues to drop as more states legalize. Federally funded study shows contradicting opponents' claims. Even as more states have legalized marijuana, rates of teen use are on the decline. There was also a significant drop in perceptions by youth that cabinet and easy to access 2024, despite the widening adult use marketplace, according to the latest federally funded national survey, was published on Tuesday. The Monitoring of the Future survey, which is supported by the National Institute of Drug Abuse, revealed that unprecedented trend with rates of young drug use overall going largely unchanged after falling to historic lows during the coronavirus pandemic. And the NIDI director Nora Volkow said, for cannabis reform advocates, the latest findings reinforce the argument that enacting regulated marijuana markets for adult use with safeguards in place such as ID checks and secure retailers ultimately deters youth access. To the point, cannabis use among 8th, 10th, and 12th graders is now lower before the first state started enacting adult use legalization in 2012. There are currently 24 states that have legalized weed. While past surveys have found that more adults are using cannabis amid the legalization movement, that hasn't been the case with teens. Cannabis use remains stable for the younger grades, with a 7.2% of 8th graders and 15.9% of 10th graders reporting cannabis use in the past 12 months. NIDA said in the press release on Tuesday, cannabis use declined among 12th graders, with a 25.8% reporting cannabis use in the past 12 months, compared to 29% in 2023. Yes.
I think that as information has become so readily available, internet, phones, kids are just more educated. And I also feel like, now I'm not raising a teenager or a preteen right now, but I don't think that peer pressures are the same about that stuff as they were when we were growing up.
It's true.
I could be completely
wrong. I mean, depends.
Like, it's just really interesting.
Right.
The teen use is going down.
Yes, big time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big difference. Also, among 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, students involved in the MTF survey, there was a stable trend when it came to rates of vaping cannabis. And while vaping stabilized, reports of smoking as a method of using marijuana have declined. NIDA and researchers at the University of Michigan, which conducted the survey, also expanded the questionnaire for 2024 to include 8th, 10th graders in a question about using Delta 8 products. They found that 2.9% of the 8th graders and 7.9% of the 10th graders reporting using within the past 12 months. And for 12th graders who are previously asked about the cannabinoid use of Delta 8, remained stable with a 12.3% reporting use within the past 12 months. At a briefing, NIDA official said the results reflect an encouraging trend that's taken some experts by surprise. Volkow, for example, had largely attributed the earliest substantial 2020 to 2021 drop in illicit substance use among youth to the fact that the pandemic minimized social interactions for many young people. The expectations was that there would be a resurgence amid renewed socialization, but that hasn't happened. This trend in the reduction of the substance use among teenagers is unprecedented. In the response to the latest data, we must continue to investigate factors that contributed to a lowered risk of substance use to tailored interventions to support the continuation of this trend. The survey also found that across the 3 grades, there was an increase in the perception that marijuana use carries a great risk. During Tuesday briefing, NIDA's chief researcher Marcia Lopez noted a significant decrease in marijuana use among 12th graders, as well as significant declines for all 3 grades for the reported use of CBD. Asked whether the cannabis use trends indicate the fears about potential increased consumption among youth that are frequently peddled by prohibitionists were ultimately unfounded, they told Marijuana Moment. That while she wouldn't necessarily go that far with the characterization, she said that what we are seeing in this data is that youth are not using more. Not. And it was 3
Really?
knots.
Huh.
They're reporting that they are using less. So that's what the data are telling us, Lopez said. Normal Director Chief Paul Armentano said that the press release reacting the MTF survey said the sensational claims that the adult use legalization laws are linked with greater marijuana use by teens are simply not backed by reliable data. The findings ought to reassure lawmakers that cannabis access can be legally regulated in a manner that is safe, effective, and does not inadvertently impact young people's habits. The findings track the past surveys that have investigated the relationship between jurisdictions that have legalized marijuana and youth cannabis. For example, Like we talked about, the Canadian government report recently found that daily or nearly daily use rates by both adults and youth have held steady over the last 6 years after the country enacted legalization, like you talked about. The findings run contrary to claims from legalization opponents who said that the policy change, first enacted in Colorado and Washington state in 2012, would lead to skyrocketing cannabis consumption by teens. Data from the CDC in 2023 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, meanwhile, was released earlier this year. The updated numbers show a continued decline in proportion of high school students reporting past month marijuana use over the past decade. Another federal report published over the summer concluded that cannabis consumption among minors, defined as people 12 to 20 years of age, fell slightly between 22 and 2023. Separately, a research letter published by the Journal of American Medical Association in April said there's no evidence that states' adoption of laws to legalize and regulate marijuana for adult use have led to an increased youth use of cannabis. That's pretty good stuff. In December, meanwhile, U.S. health officials said that the teen marijuana use has not increased, even as state legalization has proliferated across the country. That's pretty good. And also the CDC found that rates of current and lifetime cannabis use among high school students have continued to drop amid legalization movements. It's a lot here. A study of high school students in Massachusetts that published last November found that youth in the state were not more likely to use marijuana after legalization, though more students perceived their parents as cannabis consumers after the policy changed. Another study in 2022 from Michigan State University, published in the Journal of PLOS One, found that the cannabis retail sales might be followed by the increased occurrence of cannabis onset for older adults in legal states, but not for underage persons who cannot buy cannabis products in retail outlet. The trends were observed despite adult use marijuana and certain psychedelics historic highs in 2022, according to separate data released last year. That's good news. So tied into what you were talking about, did it help get you more into it, all those studies? Yeah. Pretty damn good.
It's great.
We like accessories.
We do.
What is our favorite way to smoke cannabis, to smoke weed?
A joint.
A joint.
Yes.
Now that you know how to roll, you do like it. So best weed experiences start with the best accessories. And one of the best accessories that you all need to get is an 8 decades smoke set to go with these other accessories. So tell them about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Tell them about my stuff or the article?
You can tell about the article first. Then we can go into the best accessory on the market. Yeah.
Rolling joints, blunts, backwoods, and other creations is an art performed by the best rolling papers. Pulling off trick joints takes skill and precision, and some people have done so with amazing flair. Quality weed is essential to get even burn along with good airflow in a joint or blunt. But here's another vital component. When it comes to tips for rolling the best joints, start with the most ideal medium possible: clean burning papers. I don't really consider burning papers to be an accessory. They're more they're part of the process.
Yeah.
But anyway, clean burning papers. There are a few types of papers and wraps used to roll up quality ground weed. When shopping for papers, always check whether the company uses organic or otherwise clean ingredients. The rolling supplies you choose come down to personal preference, health impacts, and more. Rolling papers consist of thin rectangular sheets of paper with a glue strip on one side. The rectangle sheets may be made of hemp, rice, flax. Each type of paper has its own draw, from creating smoother smoke to offering a tastier toke. So there really are many, many, many types. And it is important because you are going to be ingesting whatever is in that. So you want to have a clean product because you don't want to ingest. There's a lot of chemicals in paper processing. So, and if it's recycled, like, you want to know what you're consuming. Yep. So hemp is the first one we're going to talk about. Many consumers opt for hemp paper because it's a derivative of the cannabis plant. This option is also more sustainable for the trees, as the paper is created as a byproduct of the hemp industry. Some believe these rolling papers enhance the flavor of weed rather than detract or cover it. Rice paper. Rice rolling papers are preferred over wood pulp paper because they create less ash. This could translate to cleaner burns and less smoke flavor. Flax papers. Those who like flax rolling papers value a slow burn rate. This option is also believed to be flavorless, meaning that more of the strain's terpene profile presents rather than the paper taste during your sesh. And cellulose paper. Clear, plasticky cellulose papers may feel unsustainable. They are actually the most environmentally friendly option, though, from the standpoint of chemicals. And bamboo papers. Bamboo rolling papers are said to create a smooth smoke and slower burn. The bamboo stalk grows quickly, almost invasively in some areas, so making the papers are easy to produce. And we have wood pulp paper. Traditional paper made from wood pulp is said to burn the fastest and create the most ash. The draw to this option is availability. They are sold in most corner stores and gas stations, and they are easy to use. Beginners might find a thicker wood pulp rolling paper is easier to roll. And your glue, don't forget. Rolling papers feature a strip of glue on one side that is traditionally wet with your mouth and rolled onto the other side of the paper, closing the joint. This is usually 100% all-natural gum arabic, also called acacia gum. Though research is rarely cited or available, all paper companies claim that gum arabic is safe to inhale. However, experts warn that too much of anything, even natural acacia gum, could prove harmful. Rolling papers are only as good as their ingredients. Much like a joint is only as good as the weed inside. The ingredients of rolling papers make or break the smoke. The wrap or paper can translate to smooth or harsh smoke, pure or muddled flavor. So consumers who put time into selecting particular strains might apply the same discretion into which paper they prefer.
We like papers.
We like papers. I like organic papers.
You do like organic hemp. Paper. I like hemp.
I will say when I was like, I had gotten the hang of rolling a joint, but I wanted to like fine tune some things. I did switch over to like a cigarette, like the I think it was Zigzag.
Yeah,
which is a standard like a cigarette paper.
Classic.
So it's heavier.
Yes,
and it gives you a little more control when you're learning to roll. So I could figure out where my mistakes were.
The good old classic Zigzag. I mean, it's just great.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. It's just what I was used to for so many years, right. You know, when people would roll joints, just go get a bag of Zigzags, baby. That's all, that was basically the 90s, you know, if you weren't rolling a blonde, you know. Before we get started on political, state, and business news, why don't we light that joint up and we'll tell you a little bit about 8 Decades. Check out Mrs. Weedman's baby, 8decades.com, where you can find all your cannabis accessory needs and clothing. You can get your 8 Decades clothing line, you can get your Weedman 420 clothing line, and you can also check out Mrs. Weedman's baby, the 8 Decades rolling tray. Oh my goodness, if you haven't gotten yourself a rolling tray or an ashtray or the tool set, you can buy the whole set or you can buy each one individually. If you don't need an ashtray and you don't want the tool set, you can buy the tray. If you don't want the tray or the ashtray, you can buy the tool set because the tool set's great. It's got a great scooper, it's got a great cleaner, it's got a great dab tool, whatever you want to use it for. It's amazing. It's interchangeable. It's all stainless steel, 16 gauge. It's a beautiful, what would you call that, diamond cut on there? The gripper part of it.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty nice gripper on there. It's got a little tamper at the end. It's got a little pot leaf at one end. It's a very, very nice thing. So check out 8decades.com. And don't forget to sign up for what?
Our newsletter.
Yes.
And you'll get free shipping on your first order.
Yes. So sign up for our newsletter. And then make sure you come see us on January 11th.
Yes.
At the Blue Island Beer Company for the Spliff Society and Tree Huggers event. What is it called? I forgot.
I don't know.
Well,
I forgot.
It's January 11th.
It's January 11th.
3 to 10, right? Or
You'll
3?
see posts on the 8 Decades Instagram and links to getting tickets. Tickets will be at the door and also advance ticketing. Mr. Weedman talks too much. He never smokes the joint. It just keeps going out, Mr. Weedman.
There we go.
There you go. Puff, puff.
So, end away.
No.
So make sure you check out 8decades.com, everybody, and support the brand. Support Mrs. Weedman, Mrs. Weedman's baby. Female-owned business started by her. Proud of you, Mrs. Weedman. 2025 is going to be a big year.
Thanks, Mr. Weedman. I hope so.
Smoke break's over.
I'm interested in seeing how the Instagram platform better serves the cannabis community.
Yeah, right. I'll see.
There's going to be some changes in how we can post. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'll believe it when I see it. And maybe I'll sign back up again. I'm still being a brat.
I don't blame you.
Mrs. Weedman asked me the other day, she goes, are you going to sign up for Instagram again? I said, I miss the Vipers. I miss the fun, but I don't miss putting my content.
Homework.
I don't miss putting my content on somebody that doesn't want my content.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned Blue Sky to me, and then I did some research on it. I still don't know if it's cannabis friendly, but I've heard a lot of cannabis people are moving over to that, leaving Twitter X too and going over to there. So I'm going to do a little bit more research. You might find me on there and looking for some different platforms to go on instead. Because I just don't want to start something up and lose all my work again. So. But thanks for supporting 8 Decades, though, on Instagram. Check Mrs. Weedman out. There's a message you leave me. She'll always let me know, and I'll answer back. So check out 8 Decades, at 8 Decades, so on Instagram. So, all right, political, state, and business news, everyone. Illinois approves first female orgasm disorder as a medical marijuana qualifying condition.
I saw that.
Power to women, baby.
There were like 3 other, I think fibromyalgia,
that was
ovarian.
That was already on there, I think.
There was something that changed this week. There were 3 things. Okay.
Well, I know it was the female orgasm disorder. The Illinois edition was given preliminary approval by the State Medical Cannabis Advisory Board earlier this year. A recommendation released signed off by the state health department. Also, November sales for Illinois was the biggest month of 2024. $149,284,730. We're going to see what's going to... December was the biggest month of 2023, and November came close of this year. I think December of 2023 was the first time we did over 150 million. So I am looking forward to seeing these numbers for December of 2024. But big month November was. Recreational marijuana proposals would ban billboards, allow pre-rolls, and super pre-rolls in Ohio. I want a super pre-roll. These proposals include a potential ban on marijuana-related billboards to limit the public advertising. Additionally, they aim to allow the sale of pre-rolled joints, including super pre-rolls, large-size pre-rolls, giving consumers more product options. These changes are part of ongoing regulatory discussions as Ohio adjusts its approach to legal marijuana. If I was you, Ohio, I wouldn't be too mad if they banned billboards because you only get a 1% return on your $5,000 renting a month on a fucking billboard. So is it worth it? I don't think so. So good luck with that. I just think they're annoying. So Michigan cannabis sales increased in November. The Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency breaks out sales by medical and adult use, with medical sales falling 76.8% from a year ago to under $1 million, down 8.3%. And I can't pronounce that word right now. I'm too stoned. And adult use sales rising at 7.3% year over year to $267.6 million, up 2.9%. Damn. $267.6 million in 1 month. Illinois did. I just read $149 million. You folks in Michigan love your weed, and everybody else around you loves your weed because it's cheap. Not cheaply made, cheap priced. States collected more than $9.7 billion in marijuana tax revenue since mid 2021. Federal Census Bureau reports $9.7 billion. U.S. states where cannabis is illegal have racked in more than $9.7 billion in marijuana tax revenue since the middle of 2021, according to newly updated federal data from the Census Bureau. That's up nearly $1 billion since the agency last updated its cannabis revenue tracker in September. So how come there's still homeless people? Didn't I just read that homeless is up 18% in this country? You tax revenue $9.7 billion. You could have took that extra billion you made and got some people unhomeless, right?
Provide more services.
Yeah, instead of putting it all towards police services and this service that shouldn't get any of that money anyway because you've just been beating us up for 5,000 years. So, so put it where it really matters. Veterans that are homeless, veterans that need medical cannabis to get off opioids and PTSD.
Veteran health care.
Yeah, it'd be great. How about health care for underprivileged people that need it too, and a better
system.
Yeah, better system in general. Put it where the money should go and matter. Kentucky could legalize recreational marijuana. A new medical program works well, governor says. It's going to be quick. I heard licenses that were already bought, that they won the lottery. People are already trying to sell them for $2 million. $2 million already they're on the market for. Bam! Turn around and burn around and get the fuck out. Forget about all the spending the $3, $4, $5 million to build it and staff it and inventory it and run it 24/7, 7 days a week. Just give me that $2 million, I'm out. Paid $60,000 for it. $2 million, I'm gone. It's a good investment on your money if you look at it that way, and I'm sure people are going to buy them because the governor just said that if medical works well, he wants to legalize recreational as fast as possible to prove, and just medical marijuana's got to prove it, and he's going to get that going quick. THCA seizures lead to $735,000 settlement for Tennessee hemp businesses. Tennessee authorities agreed to pay $735,000 to 2 hemp businesses after police seized hundreds of pounds of THCA flower, claiming it was legal hemp. The business Old School Vapor and Sack Wholesale filed a federal lawsuit when police seized products worth $1.35 million during a raid targeting mushrooms. Although no charges were filed, the products were returned promoting the lawsuit. The case highlights confusion over THCA legality under the 2018 Farm Bill. As Tennessee moves to close loopholes, I'll call it business development, allowing intoxicating hemp products. You had a good time in Tennessee when you went. Massachusetts closes in on new cannabis chief. Travis Ahern, the administrator for the town of Holstein, emerged as the runner-up for the October interviews with executive director candidates, according to the State House News Service. Bruce Stebbins, the commissioner, acting chair, and chief people officer Deborah Hilton Creek will negotiate with Ahern. Arkansas's MMJ regulators resigns. Trent Meener has resigned as regulatory administrator for Department of Finance and Administration effective December 31st, according to Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. New Louisiana THC laws going into effect on January 1st, 2025. Instead of completely dismantling Louisiana's edible hemp industry, lawmakers instead chose to much stricter regulations for 2025. House Bill 952, sponsored by Representative Dustin Miller, Democrat Apeliosas, secured a 72-30 vote in the House, with 26-11 approval in the Senate during the last hour of legislative session Monday. Miller's legislation will, among others things, lower the potency of recreational hemp edibles from 8 milligrams to 5 milligrams of THC per servings and ban them from convenience stores that sell fuel. Existing alcohol establishments can keep selling hemp, but new permits halted. The new THC bill reduces the potency of liquid THC tinctures from 80 milligrams to 30 milligrams and capped THC beverages at 5 milligrams per serving. Damn. At least you still got it.
Yeah.
You might have to eat 3 or 4 gummies now to get you where you want to go. Top Indiana GOP lawmakers oppose medical marijuana, even as incoming Republican governor says it's time to legalize. Indiana Republican lawmakers, including Senate President Pro Tem Roderick Bray and House Speaker Todd Hudson, oppose legalizing medical marijuana despite widespread public support and incoming Republican Governor Michael Braun's endorsement of medical cannabis reform. Bray argued that legalizing medical marijuana leads to recreational use. While Houston raised concerns about marijuana's impact on mental health, meanwhile, Braun has acknowledged public opinion, with nearly 9 in 10 Indiana adults supporting medical marijuana legalization and signaled its intent to push for reform. See those 2 guys, their names that I just read? Mm-hmm. You all have the power to vote them out and put people who are pro-cannabis, pro-legalization, pro-medical legalization in. Never forget that. They work for you. They work for us. We don't work for them. Vote them in, vote them out. If they're not for what your state wants, 9 out of 10 in Indiana adults support medical marijuana legalization. There's a lot of you out there that can vote those 2 people out. Mm-hmm. Do it. Delaware awards 15 licenses for recreational marijuana retailers. Delaware awarded 15 recreational marijuana retail licenses through a lottery system. The licenses were distributed statewide, with Newcastle County receiving 7, Sussex County 5, Kent County 3. However, Kent County may face obstacles due to Dover's mayor vetoing ordinances that would regulate cannabis sales. Vote them out. Over 500 applicants participated in the lottery for the retail permits, which selected businesses needing to complete further applications and background checks before operating. California issues list of approved pesticides for cannabis cultivation. They issued approved list of 261 pesticide products they've approved for use on your cannabis products. I like that face, Mrs. Weedman.
200 approved.
61 pesticide
Put that
products
shit on that plate.
They've approved.
Make it bigger.
Yeah. The guidance from the California Department of Pesticide Regulation comes on the tail end of another trying year for the state's industry as its primary regulatory. The Department of Cannabis Control, which has struggled to contain a months-long pesticide scandal.
Look for organic flower.
Just grow your own.
Grow your own.
New California laws for 2025, cannabis cafes.
Wacky.
AB 1775 legalizes Amsterdam-style cannabis cafes, allowing lounges to also sell food and drinks that aren't prepackaged. After opposition from the American Heart and Lung Association and Newsom's veto of a similar bill in 2022, AB 1775 includes additional protections for workers against secondhand smoke. Lots of people want to enjoy legal cannabis in the company of others. Bill authors Assembly member Matt Haney, also a San Francisco Democrat, said in a statement, and many people want to do that while sipping coffee, eating a sandwich, or listening to music. There's no doubt that the cannabis cafes will bring massive economic, culture, and creative opportunities and benefits to our state. Hell yeah, they will. Come on, Illinois, get your shit together. Massachusetts regulators order single lab testing to combat cannabis lab shopping. Massachusetts regulators will require cannabis companies to use a single laboratory for compliance testing starting April 1st, 2025. The move aims to prevent lab shopping where businesses select labs that report more favorable THC levels or overlook contamination. The decision follows concerns over inconsistent testing practices. Labs will need approval of subcontract testing, and results must upload within 72 hours. This policy is intended to improve product safety and oversight in the state's cannabis market. Good for you, Massachusetts. Protecting your peeps. U.S. Hemp Farm Bill delayed for the third time. The highly anticipated U.S. Farm Bill has been pushed back until next year, leaving the future regulation of intoxicating hemp substances in the hands of individuals and states. This week, Congressman announced the 2018 U.S. Farm Bill, which legalized hemp containing no more than 0.3%. 0.3%. Not 0.03%, not 0.00003%, 0.3% of Delta 9 THC. Unintentionally creating a legal gray market for hemp-derived intoxicating products would be extended for a year. So you got a little more time. Unless the states fuck you, which a lot of them are starting to do. New Jersey marijuana sales top 1 billion mark for 2024, state officials announced. New Jersey marijuana sales have officially exceeded 1 billion in 2024. Regulators announced on Monday. The New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission said that as of Saturday, combined recreational and medical marijuana purchases reached 1,826,946, marking a 25% increase over 2023 totals. Damn, Jersey, the place I was born. New York governor signs bill to resume marijuana farmers markets and classify cannabis as agricultural product. Good for you, New York. Kathy Hochul signed 2 bills related to cannabis. One law revives the Cannabis Growers Showcase program, allowing farmers to sell marijuana directly to consumers at pop-up markets. Hell yeah. Should be allowed all across the country. Boosting access to legal products. The second law officially classifies cannabis as agricultural products, helping farmers qualify for lower tax rates on land used for cannabis cultivation. These measures aim to support the cannabis industry and simplify the market access for farmers. The bad guys are easy to find in ongoing medical cannabis drama. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. Alabama! Medical Cannabis Commission, AMCC, for its mishandling of the state's medical cannabis license process. Despite numerous legal challenges due to violations of the state laws, the AMCC... bless you, labeled companies filing lawsuits as bad guys. Labeled companies filing lawsuits as bad guys, while forcing them to pay hefty fees for essential worthless licenses. The commission's actions, including secret meetings and flawed procedures, have delayed the industry's progress, leading to frustration from businesses that invested millions into the program. You didn't get just the hammer, you just didn't get the nail. You didn't get you got the screwdriver. Yeah. Like you didn't get banged up and beat up. You got screwed like bad.
Bad.
And you've been waiting like 3 years now. We've been talking about Alabama, Roll Tide, for a hot minute now. Haven't we, Mrs. Weedman?
Yes.
All my friends and fucking burner stoners and potheads, man, just fucking got a basement. Get yourself a 2x4x6 tent. Start growing your own. because it might be another year to 2 years to 3 years before these lawsuits get taken care of, and all these millions of dollars just down the drain. So you might as well just do it yourself. Missouri cannabis regulators announced new rules to target predatory contracts. Missouri cannabis regulators announced new rules targeting predatory contracts in the state's cannabis industry. These measures are aimed at protecting license holders from unfair agreements, especially those that exploit small operators or minority-owned businesses. The rules will focus on transparency, requiring full disclosure of contract terms, and ensuring that agreements align with state law. The move comes as part of a broader efforts to foster a more equitable cannabis market and prevent larger companies from taking advantage of smaller players. Good for you, Missouri. Can I move there and open up a dispensary, please? Okay. We found a nice piece of property we'd like to open one up on. Cannabis sales near $1 billion since legalization. Guess where? Montana. Joe Montana. In 2022. Man, good old Montana, reaching $1 billion. Customers spent just under $300 million on marijuana products from January through this November. That's the latest month data available through the Montana Cannabis Control Division. That brings total sales to over $920 million since January of 2022. The month recreational sales began, with around $25 million in average monthly sales. That positions the industry to cross the $1 billion threshold in the first quarter of next year. Good for you, Montana. Good for you.
I was just noticing that Yuki is like out like a light. She's like asleep with her mouth open, like mouth breathing.
maybe she's
her eyes are rolling.
Maybe she's under the weather right now too.
Yeah, I think she's like not feeling quite right.
I can see her from
here. See that? Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's funny.
She never sleeps like that. She's out cold.
It's been raining the last few days here, so Yuki hasn't had much yard time. And I've been working hard on long walks, but we don't really let her go out in the backyard and when it's raining because it's just mud.
Or it will become mud.
Yeah, and her paws are like fucking meat hooks, and they just collect. You take mud out for days. So her out backyard time.
Maybe she's almost 3, so maybe when they turn 3, they like take normal dog naps.
I hope so.
Because that's like sleeping.
Where you and I are going to be in a minute, because I feel the onset coming out of me feeling what we're feeling all day today. But we still work. We still put the work in, Ms. Weedman.
We're doing it.
We still put the work in today.
We're doing it. And then we're going to go crawl into bed and not come out for the rest of the weekend.
2025 is coming.
Yes.
What is on the horizon for cannabis in 2025? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
The North American cannabis industry in 2024 experienced a pivotal year of progress and challenges, setting the stage for a transformative 2025. Following a dramatic election, the outlook for the coming year is still uncertain, as the new administration continues to take shape. While positive state-centered reform has been relatively muted in 2024, seeing Ohio become the only new state to legalize recreational cannabis, landmark federal reform is likely to be pushed through in the coming year. Aside from the highly anticipated rescheduling of cannabis and the long-awaited safer banking bill, 2025 will also be a crucial year for hemp as the 2025 Farm Bill continues to take shape. In Canada, 2025 could also bring some tax respite, amid suggestions from the government that their cannabis excise tax could be revised. While industry leaders are optimistic about the year ahead, the industry also faces significant pressures, including price compression, operational shifts, and fragmented regulatory frameworks. So let's hear what some of the major companies are saying. First, we have Jointly's CEO and co-founder, David Coy. He said, "I doubt that federal legalization and legislation is realistic post-election. Our government hasn't listened to the people in years. More than 70% of Americans support cannabis legalization, but more than a decade after that support crossed the 50% threshold, federal movement is nil. Special interests, culture wars, and political games standing in the way." Nabis CEO and co-founder Vince Ning says, coming out of the 2024 election, the national cannabis industry needs to ground their expectations in reality. A bipartisan pathway is essential for meaningful reform, but with the new administration, it's unclear. While we have seen momentum building for federal legalization over the past year, it's unlikely that this will happen overnight. and we must be prepared for more political and regulatory hurdles. Cookies Senior Vice President of Retail and Marketing, Crystal Millican, says, one of my biggest takeaways from 2024 is that focus is key. For us at Cookies, the focal point is on the markets we think have the most growth potential of market share, while continuing to put effort into product innovation and successful collaborations and partnerships that can extend across the markets where we operate. Royal Queen Seeds President Shai Ramsahi. This year's testing scandals and the high cost of regulated cannabis have highlighted a growing demand for high-quality cannabis genetics and seeds as more consumers worldwide seek to cultivate their plants. This shift shows that people are placing greater value on knowing the source and quality of their cannabis. And as we enter 2025, it's clear that companies offering reliable genetics will be at the forefront of the industry. Sock Rosenfeld, CEO and co-founder of Jane Technologies, says, I anticipate the cannabis industry will continue to see progress in regulatory reform, with rescheduling finally on the horizon, unlocking new levels of growth and legitimacy for the industry, the businesses, and the plant itself. It will be another year of sustained dedication and hard work as brands and retailers that prioritize a deep, data-driven understanding of the consumer experience will stand out in an increasingly competitive market. Beyond growth, I believe we'll also see a stronger commitment from the industry to address the lingering impacts of the war on drugs, paving the way for a more just and accessible market. Morgan Paxia, co-founder of Poseidon Investment Management, says that the cannabis industry is poised for its most dynamic regulatory environment to date. This new administration's approach signals a sharp departure from previous policies, opening the door to unprecedented optionality for legal cannabis. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s anticipated leadership of the Department of Health and Human Services bodes well for the rescheduling hearing in February, with formal implementation expected in 2026. Additionally, President Trump may task Attorney General Pam Bondi with drafting a Bondi memo, which could promote state autonomy in cannabis regulation. This memo may also help reduce barriers for cannabis businesses to access banking and investment opportunities as the rescheduling process unfolds. The likely appointment of a more business-friendly SEC chair will benefit smaller issuers by reducing regulatory costs and complementing the Bondi memo's objective. This shift could spark an influx of liquidity into the cannabis sector, alleviating the capital drought that has stifled growth in recent years. Industry consolidation will intensify as larger operators pursue strategic mergers and acquisitions and organic market share growth to offset pricing pressures. Early 2025 could bring significant regulatory advancements in the intoxicating hemp sector. Efforts to integrate intoxicating hemp into legal cannabis channels, potentially with a carve-out for hemp beverages being distributed via alcohol networks. And that would address critical issues like inadequate testing, underage access, and inconsistent taxation. This shift is projected to boost legal cannabis revenues with a 30% increase over current levels, while enhancing consumer safety and market stability. And we have Deborah Sainman, CEO of Work. That's WURK. The industry is shifting from rapid expansion to prioritizing operational efficiencies and sustainable growth. As legalization efforts evolve, the need for strategic decision-making has never been greater. Wendy Bronfein, co-founder and chief brand officer of Curio Wellness, says the fragmented regulatory structure, with each state maintaining its own set of laws and standards, continues to create logistic and operational challenges. With the right regulatory structure, we can avoid the current pressures of market fragmentation, price compression, and consolidation, and create an environment where innovation thrives, business scales responsibly, and the industry as a whole can mature in a way that benefits consumers, businesses, and communities alike. Simply put, a smart federal regulatory framework is key to unlocking the full potential of the cannabis market while ensuring consumer safety and industry stability. Synergy Innovations, Chantel Ludwig, she's the CEO. She says, I expect we will be seeing descheduling progress holding steady for a few years while big tobacco, big pharma, and other major players position themselves to seize the market post-legalization. In the meantime, descheduling promises something real: access to capital and tax relief for all cannabis companies, which will fuel growth across the industry. So we've got some good opinions and ideas of what could be going on.
Good.
It'll be interesting.
Medium.
Not
Ugly.
great. It's not great.
Keep on beating us up, but we keep on coming back, you know. International news. Will 2025 be the big year for cannabis in Germany? Germany cannabis policy is evolving with major changes expected in 2025. The country is launching regional adult use cannabis commerce pilot trials, which are legal under EU law for research purposes. The Berlin district of Friedrichshain, Krusenberg, and Neukölln are set to begin selling cannabis through specialty stores next summer. These trials aim to gather data to shape future national policies. And cannabis-related crime has decreased in Berlin, and cultivation associations are also expected to grow in 2025. If you are not watching us on YouTube, Mr. Weedman was reading his article, saw Mrs. Weedman couldn't find the lighter, and pulled the lighter and handed it to her, and did not miss a beat while I was reading the article. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
Right.
Pretty damn good, huh?
Pretty good.
South Africa becomes the first African country to partially legalize cannabis. South Africa became the first country to partially legalize cannabis in May of 2024, allowing private citizens to grow and consume limited amounts of cannabis. However, the sale of recreational cannabis remains illegal. The new law follows years of legal battles, and while it allows for medical use, critics argue the law doesn't go far enough in protecting cannabis growers' rights. Despite this, South Africa's cannabis industry continues to attract significant investments, millions of dollars. France extends medical cannabis trial to help patient find alternatives. French health authorities have extended a medical cannabis experiment until July 31st of 2025, giving 1,800 patients more time to stop treatment or find alternatives. Well, why would you stop at all? With these 1,800 patients, have you found out that it's working? And now you want to find them an alternative? Now going back to the streets or finding a fucking hard drug like opioids or whatever? Man, France. Poof. Poof, man. Canada announces plans to reform cannabis excise tax in 2025. In December of 2024, the Canadian government announced plans to reform the cannabis excise tax system in 2025, aiming to reduce administrative burdens and support the legal cannabis industry. The proposed changes include transitioning from province-specific excise duty stamps to a single national stamp, simplifying compliance for producers. Currently, producers must navigate 13 separate provincial PROVINCIAL and territorial excise stamps. Provincial, thank you. I was saying it right. I didn't think I was saying it right, though. Yeah. Adding significant costs and administrative challenges. Additionally, the Standing Committee on Finance recommended adjusting the excise duty formula to limit it to 10% rate, addressing concerns that the current flat tax rate disproportionately impacts producers as cannabis prices decline. The recommendations aims to make a tax structure more equitable and sustainable for the industry. These purpose reforms are part of the ongoing efforts to streamline the cannabis regulatory framework and support the growth of the legal cannabis market in Canada. And that is international news, everybody. All right, everybody. Mrs. Weedman, I just found out, doesn't like Patrick Swayze and doesn't like Jessica.
No, I did not
Jennifer
say that.
Grey.
I like them both.
She don't like either one of them.
I like them both. I just thought the article was
first article in 5.5 years you really didn't care for. I was like,
this one wasn't great, Mr. Weedman.
It was okay. For culture, it was a cultural one.
It's like all quotes, so I have to like pretend like I'm Jennifer Grey.
Just don't even read that. Just tell them what it was about.
Okay. So she No, I'm just going to read it. Jennifer Grey recalls a smoking scene where she was smoking a lot of weed before it because she was in a sex scene with Patrick Swayze, but he was drunk. Ha, there it is. So she looked back on how this sex scene with Patrick Swayze that was ultimately cut from the 1984 movie Red Dawn was derailed by him being drunk and her smoking a lot of weed. We were in this, sleeping bag, and he was nervous or whatever, and he got into the sleeping bag drunk. Grey, now 64, said this week on a podcast with Scott Feinberg. In the film, Grey, Swayze, Leah Thompson, Charlie Sheen, C. Thomas Howell, and others played teenagers that retreat to the mountains as they launch a counterattack against a Russian-led invasion in their Colorado town. And she goes on to say, as an actor, you're looking at all your stuff in the script and you're like, all right, I'm running, I'm shooting, I'm running, I'm throwing hand grenades, I'm killing myself with a hand grenade. But this is the only acting scene I get to do that I am not doing action, she said, of the sex scene. Well, why wouldn't she be doing action? Calling it, because it was a tender scene. Oh, tender. Which she thought was part of the reason why she wanted to do the job. However, she said Swayze... She
just wanted to have sex with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I'll do that job. He's hot. However, she said he didn't know his lines. And then...
What lines did he need to know?
Hey, baby. Hey, pretty mama.
Hey, pretty mama.
He didn't know his lines, and then the scene got cut. And they said that we'll come back and we'll reshoot it, but of course that didn't happen. She also shared that
she's mad that she didn't get to have sex twice with Patrick Swayze.
But he played a bunch of pranks on her, apparently, and she said she was smoking a lot of weed in those days, so she was super paranoid and she was scared. So when I went in to shoot the big love scene with him, she was really angry because she was frustrated because he kept doing all these pranks. But she said I was a super young actor and she was really taking things seriously, and she was probably a little bit annoying because she wanted to do everything good.
Gotcha.
She previously shared that before they went on to co-star in the now iconic 1987 show or movie Dirty Dancing, Swayze did apologize to her for his on-set pranks during the test. So she said he pulled me down the hall and said to me, I love you, and I'm sorry. And I know you don't want me to do this movie. And Grey said, and he got tears in his eyes, and then I got tears in my eyes, and then she said it wasn't for the right reason. I was like, oh, this guy's totally working me. And then he went on to say that they could kill it if they did the scene. And they did in Dirty Dancing, right? So that's really it.
The time of my life.
I like the TikToks of the couples trying to do the dance, and they
only in the water. So if you fall, you don't get
there's
hurt.
a lot of falling.
We've talked a lot about Snoop Dogg, but we've talked about him, remember, smoking 75 to 100 blunts a day. He said, what am I, a fucking machine? Snoop Dogg is a cannabis connoisseur. In fact, he's probably on the Mount Rushmore of celebrity marijuana smokers next to Wiz Khalifa, Willie Nelson, and Seth Rogen. Although Snoop is known to smoke a lot of weed, he wants to make sure people get their facts straight when it comes to just how much he's smoking a day. The Grammy Award-winning artist took to Instagram and to let everyone know the contrary to the online rumors. He does not smoke anywhere to 75 to 100 blunts a day. Snoop appeared to be specifically addressing a woman who made claims that she was the rapper's private blunt roller. In the video, Snoop showed a collection of less than a dozen roaches. Bitch said, I smoke bitch this and I smoke that all day. Stop lying, he began. Fuck, I'm gonna smoke all the weed in one day. What am I, a fucking machine? Bitch, this is the roaches. See the roaches? Renegade Piranha, the woman who identifies herself as Snoop's personal blunt roller, sparked the rumor when she appeared on the Kyle and Jackie O show, an Australian radio show. According to the New York Post, Piranha said Snoop smokes about a half a pound of weed every day. There's no way. Can't. I calculated over 450,000, Piranha said on the show, estimating the number of joints she has rolled for the 51-year-old artist. According to Piranha, the rapper rarely goes anywhere without a blunt. Snoop first denied the claim when he went on Instagram last week to post a brief statement. The bitch is conning you, man, he wrote. What am I, a fucking machine?
I just figured like there's that many that burn in the day, but he probably smokes like a couple puffs on each one. You know what I mean? Like
But how many joints has he
or he
given
like
away?
passes them off to somebody and gives a couple here. So she might roll a shit ton.
Right. But he ain't smoking.
But he's not smoking them
75
all.
to 100 blunts a day.
Yeah, and he works his butt off. So
2024 was year of Snoop.
Yeah.
He even released a new album too.
Right.
You know, just right at the end of it. So it's actually pretty good. So everybody, 2025 is right around the corner. I mean, we are coming up on it. It is today, 12/27/2024, Friday.
Ooh,
See, I don't even know what fucking day it is. I said Thursday. It is Friday.
It is Friday.
12/27/2024, 11:01 p.m. We have a few days here to kick ass and whatever you want to do at the end of 2024, or just kick back and relax, like we said, and don't care what day it is. Eat whatever the fuck you want. Watch a fucking TV series. Watch some movies. Watch some shows. Wear leggings to work and your pajamas to work for the next couple of days because there ain't gonna be nobody in there. So, eat whatever you want. Who cares what time it is? Who care what day it is until January 6th when you really got to go back to work and get your goals set and get going for 2025. Don't forget, write down your goals. Get shit done. Make sure 2025 becomes a really good year for you in whatever you want to do and accomplish in your life. And, you know, it's up to you. There's nobody else that can make you do whatever, which we were just talking about this in the car, right? It's up to you to get shit done. It's up to you to change your life. It's up to you to move forward and ahead. It's nobody else's responsibility, because I'm going to tell you this right now. Life's not fair. Get fucking used to it. No matter where you live in this world, life is not fair. Get used to it. So take this week, reflect, refresh, have some fucking fun, get it all out of your system. And January 6th, don't ever start your fucking the day after. January 1st, I'm starting my. No, it doesn't work like that. January 6th.
The first Monday after New Year's.
Yes, is when you get your mind. Your mind is ready, and you go and you charge out there and get your life and what you want to do in your life done. 2025 could be the greatest year of your life. It could be the fucking mediocrest year of your life, or it could be a really shitty year of your life. Let's not have any shitty year. Let's have a great year. Let's go out there and get it. Excel in your life, excel in your dreams, and go get what you want out of it. And you can succeed in whatever you want to do. Because why? Mr. and Mrs. Weedman believe in you. Got anything to say, Ms. Weedman?
Well, I was just going to say thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
I play.
Put me in, Coach.
Put me in, Coach.
I'm ready to play.
All day.
Center field.
Look at me.
I can be
center
field. You got anything to say?
Everybody, thank you for following along with our antics and our shenanigans and some good information in between, hopefully. And thank you for supporting our brand and what we do. And just like Mr. Weedman said, preparation is key. I think I just heard Anthony Bourdain said it was a good quote. You got to tell me. Yeah.
You typed it to me. Go ahead, finish. We'll go back. So, I'll find it.
You had, like he said, chill out, have it, like go hard for these last few days or take it easy for those last few days. But whatever you do, however you approach it, get a plan. Like sit down and really think about what your plan for 2025 is.
I'll let you read it.
Anthony Bourdain said, prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
A lot of peas.
So there you go. Peas.
And the other text you texted me was the guy he said before that, food is feces in waiting.
Yeah. he had Anthony Bourdain cracking up.
Food is feces in waiting. It's just poop in the end. It's just poop.
It's all just poop.
It's all just shit.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, Mrs. Weedman made some really good edibles, and I'm going to eat 2 of them and fucking knock the fuck out till tomorrow. So, you got anything else before we go?
Just peace out, everybody. Have a great year, and I hope your 2025 is even better.
We love you out there. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you all from around the world to our studio to around the world. We love you. 2025 is on you. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.